All right, this is how I make the thin mince woolly burger. Um, I'm using here a size 14, like extended shank or a long shank barbless hook. It's way too small. You want to use like a size 10 or size 8 or something, long shanks. This was just the longest shank hook that I had available, so I wanted to show you how the fly is put together. There's definitely a lot of stuff that goes on this fly, um, and the goal is to keep it thin. You want to keep it thinner than I have a 1/8 bead on here. I put a 1/8 on a size 10 too as well, or size 8. I'll use a 1/8 silver tungsten bead here, because I want to keep it thinner than that bead. Not the hackle at the end, but the body and everything, the shank. So that's really important. Another thing is I'm using like a 70 denier flat thread. So you can see it lays flat on the hook, different than I don't have any setup right now, but like different than like a round thread, right? That would be, got red thread. You see that a round one is thicker, when it goes around. So using a flat one, this is some stuff I got off of Amazon. It's crap. Don't get it. I highly don't recommend you using it. I would get like Vivis or Semperfly. They make good threads. So let me get this set up here. I can't. This stuff is such a pain in the butt to work with. It doesn't. It likes to fray and fall apart and snap off, and like it's stretchy, which is weird. So, but whatever. I'll make it work to show you guys how to do this. So the first material you're gonna start off with is putting a little super glue on the top of your hook shank here. Just a little drop, like that's actually too much, but I'll just get it in there somehow. Do something with it. And then you could take your either leaded or unleaded, whatever you use, lead wire right here, and we're gonna wrap it. Some people put like 10 wraps, something like that. I'm gonna do less because this thing's so much smaller here, right? So let me get some wraps on there and shift it down a little. I'm getting super glue over my fingers, which was not the goal, but it's happening. So now I got my lead on there. I'm gonna push it up to the bead head here, and that's actually not on there good. I want to make it a little bit tighter there. I'm trying to do this before the super glue dries there, and it's definitely on there. Make sure the super glue doesn't go down and go through the bead eye there. That's happened to me before. All right, I mean the hook eye. All right, so I'm gonna take that now. Hopefully it's on there good. I'll just helicopter it off. I would go like longer if it was definitely like a longer shank hook or something, but I need that space there. So again, this is a shorter shank. I'm just trying to show you guys how I do it. So I will start my thread now. I'm gonna get that going up here. I'm not gonna make it anything big because the glue and everything is kind of holding everything in there. It's actually glued on. All right, I was gonna make it a little bit tighter, but all right. So then wrap down. So as you can see, this thread really lays flat. It doesn't leave a lot of extra material on the fly itself, which makes it a lot easier. And I can't believe I set this thing up and I didn't have my scissors set up. What am I doing? All right, so let's cut that off. Now I'm gonna keep wrapping to the back here a little. I don't really see how it's already falling apart. This stuff is hard like this, so I'm gonna wind it a couple times here to get it back to being good again. Okay. Now, what you need to do is you need to take 3 colors of marabou: green, brown, and black. And what you do is you take off the chunks of the marabou here. Watch, I'll take this off. Just pull it off, right? And I'm trying to get it down because I want these all to be small enough so that this stem is going to be on here. You're going to put 3 marabous on this little hook. So you don't want it to be like tons of material on here. You want it to pretty much be the length of that hook. So I'm going to pull this stuff off like this here and just keep pulling it off till I get down small. And then I'm going to make sure that I got, like I was saying, I've got my black set up, my green set up, everything's all set up there. It's gonna go green, brown, and then black up top, okay? So we'll start with our green, and obviously I don't stick the stuff in my mouth, but I've wet the. It's good. These ones you really got to wet these down. The first piece of marabou that you put in, that is going to define how long the other ones are going to be. So obviously you want to make it about the size of the shank of the hook, which is right about there. And then I'm just going to wrap right here. Just try to get 1 or 2 wraps right in there. All right. Now I want to try to flip this around because I want to keep the marabou up top. I'm going to give it a quick look and see, like, okay, is this going to be enough? Is that what I want for this hook? I actually want it a little bit longer. So go down there a little bit more. I'm trying to lock this in right behind the chunk of lead there, right? I'm kind of, actually went a little too far with it there. But let's just double check this. All right, make sure we get all the marabou up top here. I feel like we got a piece wrapped around in there somewhere. All right. And then I'll just wrap down on it. Kind of pulling it up towards me a little bit, but I'm pulling it up to keep it up on top of the hook shank. If you notice, I don't dress the hook on this because I need as much space in there. I got to do a lot of stuff in this little area compared to the rest of the fly. So remember, I'm trying to keep small in this bead head. The bead head right now, I'm using a jig, so I got that extra space there. That's just giving me that extra room there. I like using jigs for everything, so I think jig hooks work better. So now we got that set up there, right? Now we know what the size is going to be. So next we're going to grab our brown marabou. I'm going to wet my fingers. And now I just have to measure it up with this piece of marabou right here. I don't even have to worry about it on the hook shank here. I just have to measure that up. Now, notice I didn't wrap back and then wrap forward. Again, I'm trying to minimize the amount of wraps that I've got on this. Make sure you pull it up to the top again. It's really important. You want to keep this stuff so it's not spinning around. You'll want to do that, but try to keep it on the top as much as possible so that you get 3 equal layers here of marabou. So I got that in. I'll start to wrap back on it now. Again, I'm trying not to build it up as much as possible. I just want to keep it pretty thin there. As long as it's locked in, I'm happy. I cut it down here as close as I possibly can. All right, and then we'll put in our black marabou. And then the black, put that up on top here. Measure it up with the other one right there. So it looks like it'd be good right about there. I want to keep it up top as possible there. Give it a couple of wraps here to grab it in there. So I get on the lead. I got it a little bit on the lead. You know what? See how I'm making a build-up right there? That's like, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to pull this forward. There we go. I actually want to keep it off the lead so that it doesn't build up on the lead. I want this to kind of equal that. I got to put so many things in this fly. It's pretty crazy. Actually, that needs to go a little bit further out. There we go. Let's see. If we grab all 3 of them here, let's see what's going on. That's about the right length. Okay. And then I'm gonna hold it up high, right? And then I'm gonna wrap it with the thread. Doesn't have to be like, you know, constant same wraps over everything, but you see how I'm still staying pretty small if I possibly can. Let's see, we'll bring this all the way back, and then we kind of wrap all of them together here. Just make sure they're all tight and up towards the top here. All right, and that's about to the back of the hook there. So I'm gonna go a little bit further. All right, so that's how you get, let's cut this free now. That's how you set up your marabou. Notice how I got pretty much the same kind of width there at the top, which is really important. All right, Next is, so on this fly, most people use like a solid color tinsel kind of thing, like this right here, which either got gold or silver. They usually use that. If you notice, it's just way too thick for this fly. But some other ones that I've used too, which are thinner, that work good. This tinsel halo tinsel right here, this stuff's pretty shiny. But again, see how it's just too thick for this fly? It'll just like take it over. Another one that works good is this green, like chartreuse kind of shiny stuff. Tinsel, halo, this stuff works really good too. So I switch them between the flies. Like, I'll even use like red and black back here. I'll change all the different stuff, whatever I have to do. So for this one, all the things that I would be using that material for, I'm going to use Crystal Flash because it's just a lot tinier. But just think that with the bigger one, you're probably not going to want to use Crystal Flash. You're probably going to want to go with something, bigger than that. So I'm going to take the chunk of Crystal Flash here, and I'm going to cut it up into pieces so that I've got like a good like four. I want like 4 pieces because I want to kind of like I said, I'm making up for not using that bigger piece of like reflective material. So I'm going to cut this into 4 pieces with the hopes of getting enough material in there without overcrowding it, making it still look good. So I don't know why this has been so twisted up lately, all the pieces that I get out of it, but nonetheless, let's try to cut that in half here. Sorry if you guys can see that there. I was probably back here doing it. Just gonna cut that. Let's see what we got here for 4 pieces, hopefully. Alright, yeah, I'll do like these 4 right here. One's kind of short. It might turn out to be a only go up one direction, but let's see what happens. So I want to make these all next to each other. I want them to all be like right on top of each other exactly, so that I don't have to cut that side. But if you can't, then it's okay. You can just cut that side if it's being a pain in the butt like it is for me right now. I'm just gonna cut that thing off there. Just cut it. Yeah. Now they're all the same length. Okay. I'm just going to line this up with the back side of here like this. I'm just going to line it up to the back side here till I get to the end of the marabou, right? I'll just hold that on there. And then I'm right here. I'm just going to start winding up with it, okay? And you kind of just keep it on this side for now, right? See that shorter piece there? Probably is not going to make it for what I want to do. But nonetheless, I'm just going to wrap this. And a lot of people wrap all the way up, so, I mean, I'll do that for this. So just keep the material on one side here, like I'm not doing. Grab here. I get that little piece. I don't know what's going to happen to that thing. But this side's going to have 3 instead of 2. So I'm just going to go up a little bit here. Make my point. And then you're going to grab everything and pull it back this way. Definitely got that little piece there. It's being on the button. Alright, so I'm just going to lay that there and then just work back down, holding this stuff to the side there because I want it to go right exactly down the side of the fly. I'll just kind of, these aren't even like tight wraps. I mean, they're tight wraps, but they're not like wide or close. They're pretty wide. All right, so then I got my Crystal Flash in there. And then I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to clip it off there. All right, so then now, boom, I got that. You can see that there. All right, so there's your flashy stuff in the back, right? We're going to add another piece of Crystal Flash, and that's going to be just another part that we actually wrap up on this fly. So I'm going to just take a good chunk of Crystal Flash here. I don't know, like a good 6 to 7 inches or so. And back here, again, back here with the material. I'm not going to go back up with the thread and then back down again. There's no point in doing that. So I'm going to get this, I'm going to put it in so it just lines up with the side of the body of the fly. And then again, I'm just going to wrap up with that. Don't really matter. So I'll try to keep it on this side up here, but it doesn't really matter where it goes to me, really. That's just in there. All right, now while I'm up here, again, I'm not going to wrap back again because I'll lose thread. I mean, I'll have too much of a gap, too wide of material there. So now I'm going to add some brassy wire. This is like smaller here, and I guess a small size, and I'm going to get that. You can seat it in the back of the fly if you want. I'm not going to do that, but I wanted to, since this is kind of a thicker material, I do want to line it up all the way to the bead because it is going to change the thickness of the fly. So I do want to keep that all the way up to the head. As you can see there, I went all the way up to the head of the bead. And then I'm just going to wrap down that. Wrap that in good. Make sure it just goes to the back end here. All right. Now that I got that in, got the crystal flash all set up. There's so much material to this. Now I'm going to add a chunk of peacock. I've used peacock ice dubbing. Gotten away with doing that. It works fine too. Peacock curls or whatever these are called. These always work the best. I use it on a lot of flies. I don't know, fish just like love this color. And you can cut off the tips here if you want to just make it all perfect. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to wrap this into the fly here. This one I'm actually going to go back up with the thread, but just kind of quickly like that, right? And then I just want to catch a couple of these fibers in there. Not a couple, I want to catch all of them. I'm going to wrap down all that, make sure it's in there nice. And I'm just going to run that down the shank of the hook. All this peacock. Kind of did some extra wraps there, I didn't need to do that, but it's okay still. Still saying all about the same size here, which is the most important thing. That's what I wanted to do, right? All right, so now here's a trick to wrapping the peacock curl on the hook. You want to keep this line right here, your thread, you want to keep that on here, right, as you're wrapping with the peacock, right? And what that does is it keeps the wraps tight and pulls them back at all the time. There's always pressure on them then, okay? So I'm gonna grab all my peacock that I have here and I'll wrap it towards you guys. I'm just gonna start wrapping it. Watch out for that hook there. And now you see I'm not touching my piece of thread that's hanging there. I'm leaving it because I want to get all the way up with it. And I want it to make the hurls tight, you know, and stay on there really well. I might even run out of peacock curl because I didn't grab big enough pieces there, did I? No, I don't think so. So I'll show you what I'm going to do to just survive through this here. Peacock material is pretty weak, so I'm just going to try to get some wraps in there real quick. And then I'm just going to show you how I'm going to save this fly because ultimately I'd wrap that all the way up with a peacock curl, but I didn't put enough on there. And just to make a point with this video here, I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do to kind of save myself here. I'll just take some like peacock like ice dubbing, which hopefully I have kicking around here somewhere. I'm gonna use this ice dubbing. This stuff looks so similar to the peacock curl that I can get away with throwing a little chunk on there. Sometimes I'll do the whole flies like this, but I'm just showing you what I'm doing here because I don't have I didn't wrap enough of the peacock curl in there. I actually need to get more. That was like the last of what I had. So all right, so here I'm using the peacock ice dubbing. I'm rolling it in one direction on here. I'm only putting a couple inches on. That's all you really need. That's how you kind of start it. And like I said, just spin it in one direction. Keep it really like uniform, the same size. I'm probably going to end up pulling off the back part of it here, but let's see. And then I'm just going to wrap it up here. All right, let's see. I got to add some more to it because I made that. I probably could have made that. That peacock curl would have made it all the way down. I just made it really thick is what I'm noticing right now. It could have been a lot thinner. I think that would have saved me, but hey, this is another way to know how to make the fly anyways. it's about tying flies is all about like just coming up with materials and making things work. I mean, that's really what it's kind of fun about it. Obviously not the greatest thing, but it's not the worst, and you'll see how this fly ends, and you'll be like, oh, okay, I can't even see that difference in there, really. So I'll pull off the excess that I got here. Just kind of lock that down in there. That stuff can just sit around. I don't really care about it that much, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the piece of crystal flash that I have, right? And I'm going to wrap that up the fly, okay? And again, this would be something like a thicker piece of the tinsel stuff if you had, but I'm using this. You see how I'm just keeping it in equal kind of open spirals as I work my way up. And then I will just wrap that in there. 1, 2, 3. And just give it like 1 or 2 here. 1, 2. And then I'll cut that off. So now I got that in there. Cut off some of the HW. Alright. And then next thing that I'm going to do is grab another material. And that's going to be like your hackle. I use this color right here commonly. I don't know. It just seems to work the best. I've also used like this color before. This works good too. So I'm just going to pull off one of these. I'm going to have to use a really small one on this because I got a small hook. And I don't want it to be huge on there. So I'm just going to kind of pick through here until I find one that works pretty well. It looks like it might work there. And I want it to be like the distance between the hook and the fly, the hackle here, right? So I want to kind of look at the bottom here and say, okay, that's about good right there, I would say. So I'm going to cut off the edge of the hackle feather here. And then I'm going to remove a good chunk of it like this. So I have a little bit of a stem sticking out there, right? Now I want the feather to be going this way towards the back of the fly, right? The shiny part, so I'm gonna have it going this way. And then I'm going to tie this in at the top up here. This is another good reason why I don't seat beads on a lot of these flies anymore, is simply because of this. Like, I need that area and space back there to do things. So I'm gonna put this in there like this, just flat, right? And I'm gonna do like 3 wraps on it, right? But then what I'm gonna do is fold it back towards me, and then I clamp it down in there, like 2 or 3 other wraps. Now that piece of hackle is in there really good. And what I'm gonna do now is just start hackling down with it. I'm gonna do like 3 probably up here towards the top, like 1, 2. Just give a good thick chunk up at the top, because I definitely have issues at the end sometimes when I'm getting the wire and everything in there. So, and then I'm just gonna wrap back with the hackle in like equal spiral loops here. Oop, I lost it. Do it again. 1, 2. I actually don't even need to go with 3. I think that's gonna do good. So 1 there, 2, 3. I guess I might have to go over 4, because that's what it wants to do here, it looks like. I'll have to keep losing it. This one's good to use hackle pliers, which I have, and I just keep not using them here. And hopefully it works this time. If it doesn't, then I'm just gonna have to grab my hackle pliers, because I keep dropping this thing. Alright. I think not to drop it here. Alright. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my brassy wire here, and I just went that direction, so I'm going to cross hackle. I'm going to go the opposite direction here. I'm going to make sure that it doesn't have any marabou in it. And what I'm doing is I'm clamping down onto the hackle feather now, right? So I'll do like 2 wraps on that to make sure I get it in there good. Like 1 and 2. Sorry, I'm being shaky. I'm just trying to get it in there really good. I know that's in there. Make sure. It looked like I grabbed some marabou there. Just want to make sure I didn't. Alright. Cool. So now just weave it in between so I can not grab the hackle. And I'm going to go, again, in open spirals, but I'm cross hackling this time. Actually, I grabbed too much hackle in there. Again, on the bigger flies is much easier. I'm doing this all on a small fly here, just to show you how to make it. But these things are actually still deadly, these little 14s. The only thing is like setting the hooks kind of hard. I don't know, this 14 is like really just kind of too small. But I've done it. I made them in these and it works. It's harder to keep them on the hook for some reason. So again, I'm just trying to do open spirals here and keep them all somewhat equal here. Couldn't see that one in there because it's like blending in with the hair exactly. So I thought I was double doing it there, but it wasn't. Alright. It's really not cooperating with me with grabbing the hackle here. Stop doing it. Alright, finally got past that little point there. So now you can notice that where I added that ice dubbing in there, the peacock stuff, it's not really doing that much damage. You can't really tell that I used it in there. So you can make the whole fly with the dubbing if you don't want to use the, or you like do what I do and I just ran out of the peacock curl. So now I got this up here, I'm gonna do 3 wraps. You can see it grabbing some of the hairs there, so I kind of trying to keep it off as much as possible. 2 and 3. And then I'll pull it back. Hopefully give it 1 or 2 here. I'm pulling back all the hackle fibers too because I don't want them getting wrapped up in there. If you notice, I'm just getting to the point where the head's getting too big. So I'm just gonna grab this, hold this here, and I'm gonna helicopter it off. And it didn't work for me, it broke right there. I hate when it does that. And I just spin it until it goes off there. There we go. Alright. And then what I'm going to do is make sure everything's back because I'm going to hackle it now. I'm going to whip finish it, but I'm going to add, usually I use UV resin, but to make it quick, I'm just going to add like a little dab of super glue here. A little dab, there we go. That's a huge dab. It's a really big dab. That's going to like fall down my string and get into everything. So we don't want all that on there, but that's good enough. And then I'll grab my whip finish tool here, and I will whip finish it. And don't tell me I lost the whip finisher. No, I put it right where I needed it. Alright, so now I'll just grab it here, and we'll give it a whip finish. I'm obviously trying to pull back to make sure I don't grab any of those hackle fibers. I'm gonna do 3. Pull that tight. The super glue dries really quick when you're doing this. It already dried onto that line there. Oops, I grabbed some hackle there. 2. That's about all I'm gonna get into there. I haven't had issues with these guys falling apart yet, up top or anything. And I'll snip my line free there. I haven't had any issues, but there you go. That is the Thin Mints mini version, but it's actually pretty deadly like this because it's got a lot of weight on it, and it works pretty darn good. I highly recommend the Thin Mints. You could throw some more glue if you wanted in there, but yeah, that's how I make them, and yeah, they're pretty deadly. So good luck.